Delighted to be here at the House from A Christmas Story to speak with you about the screenwriter and the movie. My name is Quentin Schultze, and I happen to be someone who knew the writer of the movie A Christmas Story. In fact, I knew him for many years, and I taught college with him. We taught storytelling together, and I'm going to tell you secrets about the movie A Christmas Story that will, well, in the movie, they say about the old man, it boggled his eyes when he looked at that leg lamp. Well, I'm going to boggle your mind with tales about A Christmas Story, the movie. The movie goes back to stories written by the screenwriter by the name of Jean Shepherd. Jean Shepherd, J-E-A-N. He always hated that name because it sounded to him like and read like a woman's name. And so people often called him Shep. But he was a terrific storyteller, and I was teaching college in Michigan back in the early 1980s. And I decided that I would learn storytelling from somebody who was a spectacular storyteller. And that was Mr. Jean Shepherd. Little did I know at the time that his stories would actually be made into the movie A Christmas Story. But I learned about his stories. I learned about what he was trying to do in those stories. I learned the secrets behind A Christmas Story, and that is why I wrote the book. The book is titled You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, Life Lessons from the Movie A Christmas Story, and it's based on my friendship and teaching with Jean Shepherd. So what I thought I would do today is share with you a few of the secrets about the stories behind the movie A Christmas Story. Just a few. When I was teaching with him, we had 24 life lessons. He was kind of a philosopher, and he had life lessons that he would put into his stories. And I took 20 of those and developed them into the book, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. And so I'm going to talk about 6 of those real briefly, and it will highlight aspects of the book. And then I would be happy to sign some copies of the book for you as well. Let's get right into it. Number 1, pursue your dreams. Pursue your dreams. Jean Shepherd, the screenwriter of A Christmas Story, believed that every human being has dreams, and every human being should pursue those dreams, even if it seems impossible. And so what he did in the movie was to develop the idea of the Red Ryder BB rifle. 200 shot, it's a range model. It's got a compass and this thing that tells time. It's exciting. And you know that Ralphie really wants it. It's his dream. And he first sees this dream in the window at Higbee's department store. And he decides he's got to have it. He's got to have it. And he's going to pursue it, but he has some problems because not all adults think that kids should have BB rifles, right? So what happens? He first blurts it out accidentally to Mom at the kitchen table that he wants this BB rifle, and she says, "Oh no, you'll shoot your eye out." In fact, "you'll shoot your eye out" is the most searched term related to the movie A Christmas Story on Google. And that's why I titled the book, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. Mom says, "No way." So he goes to the teacher, Miss Shields, and he figures he can make it happen there, especially because he has the opportunity to write a theme, what I want for Christmas. It's a terrible theme, but he thinks it's great. And he dreams about this theme opening up Miss Shields' heart and that he would get that rifle. She would somehow go to the parents, Ralphie's parents, and convince them to get the rifle. And in fact, in an early version of the story, that's exactly what Jean Shepherd had going on. And it was going to be in the script to the movie, too, that Miss Shields would be so excited she would go to the parents. It didn't work out that way. C+ on that theme, And on the bottom of the theme in red is written what? You'll shoot your eye out. There it is again. But Ralphie is going to pursue his dream even further. So what does he do? He decides he is going to go to that man in the sky, the man on the top of the mountain, the guy who, in a sense, symbolized for Gene Shepard, the writer, God himself. He would go up those stairs at Higbee's department store and plead with Santa to get him that rifle for Christmas. He didn't fully believe in Santa. In fact, Gene Shepard told me at one point, he didn't really believe, but it was the last shot that he thought he had. So he went up and was going to ask Santa, and he forgot, and he blurts out he wants a football because he's all upset. And then, of course, he doesn't really want a football. He wants that rifle. But what happens? He gets stuck partway down that slide, and he remembers, I got to ask Santa for the rifle. I don't want a stinking football. Well, Santa takes his boot, that black boot. Santa, not too happy a Santa to be working there. He doesn't want to work extra hours. His nose is rather red because he's been imbibing a bit too much, probably on the job. And he pushes him down the slide and says, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid." But Ralphie wants the dream. He wants the dream. And he is given up on Christmas morning when that rifle doesn't show up. And then the old man says, "Look over there behind the desk." And right here at a Christmas store, you'll get to do that. Take the tour, go through the house, and you'll see that desk. You'll see what happens there. It's a fantastic tour. Get this. The one person, the one major adult in his life that Ralphie does not ask for the rifle is the one that gives him the rifle. And maybe the best scene in the whole movie is when the old man and Ralphie are there together, and the old man is watching Ralphie unpack it, load it up with BBs, and the two of them, father and son, actually are bound to each other in an emotional way that they are not anywhere else in the film. It's a great scene. Pursue your dreams. Making a feature film was a dream for Gene Shepard, the screenwriter. And for him to have it made and to come out, he was so proud of it, unbelievably proud of it. A second life lesson from the movie is care for family, care for your family. This gets worked out in interesting ways, but let me say right up front that Gene Shepard himself grew up in a difficult family situation, and they didn't always care for one another. But he wished that families would, and he tried to work that out psychologically in the film and his stories in his own way. And I love some of the scenes where this happens. I love it when poor Randy, who's stuffed into this outfit to get to school, he's overdressed to get to school, and mom has to really work hard to get him stuffed into it, and he's going to school, but he gets knocked over. And who goes back but Ralphie, a member of the family, his brother. He says, "Hold up, gang. I got to go back and get my brother, Randy," and he picks him up. Another great scene of this that people often don't talk with me about, even though I think it's a terrific scene, is when Ralphie gets involved in the fight. Terrible, terrible fight with Scott Farkas. There's a whole background, by the way, on where that name Scott Farkas comes from, and you can get that in the book as well. But it's a terrible fight, very emotional fight, and Ralphie beats him up, semi-bloodies him, and then Randy comes along. Randy, the guy who can barely walk in his outfit, he comes along, and he sees Ralphie's glasses. And he picks up his glasses, and he manages to bend over and get those glasses without falling over to have to be picked up. And he gets home, and he gets the glasses to Mom. And he also gets Mom to come and pull Ralphie off of Scut, poor Scut. If you believe a bully should ever be referred to as poor. A lot of family caring for family in the movie. And Gene Shepard, the screenwriter, wanted that too, even though in his life he didn't have as much of it as you would think. A third interesting life lesson is being flexible. Being flexible. Gene Shepard, the screenwriter, had a career where he went from one medium to another. He did a story in radio, he did a story on stage, he did a story in what he called his novels, short stories put together. He did them in all kinds of media, including, of course, the feature films. He acted on stage. He was remarkably talented at doing his stories in different media. And I'll tell you an interesting thing here, though, that each time he thought he was going to fail, each new place that he would tell a story, he thought it was going to be a failure. And he even felt that going into feature movies, that it would be a failure. And he hung out on the set here, and he hung out on the set for making the movie in Canada. He wanted to try to control it to make sure it was perfect. But he had Bob Clark, the director, who was a fantastic director, making that movie, and it wasn't going to fail. But Gene had to be flexible from one medium to another just to make it as an entertainer in life, a storyteller, a raconteur. And it's interesting about the flexibility in the movie and how that gets worked out. The scene that I like the most about this is when the Bumpus hounds come over and they grab the turkey and they take off with it. And you would think the old man is just going to be upset and that's going to be the end of everything. But what happens? The old man says, "All right, everybody, go on upstairs and get dressed. We're going out to eat." And so they go to the Chinese restaurant. And you know what happens there. That's a great scene in and of itself. But the old man, rather than just getting angry or just eating that one little piece of the turkey, the wing that was left for him, or eating some leftover meatloaf, they decide to go forward to the Chinese restaurant, and they have a great time there. Be flexible in life, Gene said. You gotta be flexible. You don't know what's coming. He also said, admit when you do wrong. Admit when you do wrong. Now, what about this? I'm gonna tell you a story about the story that's really amazing. The old man in the movie, played by Darren McGavin, has a hard time, a very difficult time connecting with his son, Ralphie, or Randy for that matter. There's not good emotional bond there. It's a sad thing in some ways. In fact, he doesn't refer to Ralphie by name. He doesn't refer to Randy by name. And that's true in Shepard's stories across the board. Because in Gene's own life, his father left the family and never came back. And that hurt Gene badly. But it also gave him a sense that men did not necessarily connect well with their children. And that gets worked into this story, A Christmas Story, as well. The scene that is the most amazing about this, where he should have admitted when he did wrong, was when the old man had the flat tire and Mom says to Ralphie, "Why don't you go out and help your dad?" And of course, Ralphie does go out there. It's a great scene in many ways, except the bolts or the nuts, depending on whether or not they got it right for a 1937 Olds, are in the hubcap, and the old man accidentally knocks over the hubcap and the hardware goes flying. And Randy utters that F-bomb, the terrible F-bomb. Oh, it was awful, awful, awful. And you know how Randy feels. The old man should have right then and there apologized and said, "I'm sorry for knocking that over," but he didn't. Instead, he tells Mom what Ralphie said, because he's not, I think, able to meet that time limit of changing the tire the way that he wanted to. Should have apologized. I'd like to close with one more life lesson about technology. Gene Shepard and I shared ham radio as a hobby. We were both big ham radio fans, and if you get involved in any kind of electronics, ham radio, you know things don't always work. And Gene believed that the best we can do as human beings is to tackle technology, to try to tackle it, hold it down, keep it from getting away from us, keep it from destroying us. And so throughout the movie, he has people, especially the old man, because Gene believed that men were the ones that were most likely to try to control technology. They wanted it, they wanted the latest technology, they're going to use it, and then things don't work the way they hoped. So, first it's the furnace, the clinkers of the furnace. The old man is always having to run downstairs, come back upstairs with soot on his face. The clinkers. He is never going to solve that furnace problem. And there's the Oldsmobile. That sucker would freeze at the equator, that Oldsmobile. He couldn't keep it going. Technology. All the electrical outlets. The old man is always battling the electrical outlets, not enough outlets, and he's blowing fuses. In fact, he could replace fuses faster than a jackrabbit on a date. Think about that for a while. So we only tackle technology. We never control it. Gene believed that. So let me conclude with this. I wrote the book, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, Life Lessons from the Movie A Christmas Story, because I got to know the screenwriter, Gene Shepard, who was kind of a life philosopher. He was a philosopher of life, and he saw these truths in the things that happened to him and happened around him and happened in the news, and he took these truths and he developed them into stories, including the stories that became A Christmas Story. But in the end, things work out for good. And the old man and mom, even though there was a battle over the leg lamp, they are there together on the sofa, looking out the window, which is right across the street from here, at the snowflakes coming down, and they're touching each other, and they click their wine glasses, and things are working out for good in spite of all of the problems in life. And of course, there was no snow. So there they are on the roof on the house across the street, throwing down fake snow in the form of potato flakes to make it look like snow. Things are never entirely the way they seem to be in the movie business. And that's true with A Christmas Story as well. I'll be happy to sign a copy of the book or more for you for friends. Remember, don't shoot your eye out. Thank you.